that time. It's the red zone time. Hey, it's chaos time in Texas because that's all what it's about. Football in Texas. We're ready to rock and roll. Hey, Josh Tabarco, principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, ISD, Garland, USA, with all of these awesome educators right now going into the Thanksgiving Day vacation. We need to be thankful for everything that we have, our families, our profession, the best profession out there, the profession that creates all the other professions, education. And we're here to learn from these awesome teachers, podcasters, authors. We've got everything in the house today. So we need you. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, after all that turkey, after all of that, whatever you're eating, I don't know, your region of the United States, whatever you put in there for Thanksgiving, check us on the rebroadcast, like it and share it. If you're in Hawaii, if you are in Maine, if you're in New York, in Florida, or anywhere in the 48 middle, we need you because you know what? We're in the best profession, teaching, public education. We're here for the future of America. What do you think about that, Dean Packard?
Iron sharpens iron. Josh Tovac, great job once again doing our lead-in on a Thursday night. Listen, we're all here. We have some familiar faces with us. We are going to have some fun once again. There's no doubt about that. Hey, everybody, I'm Dean Packard, one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle. Our other guy is Chris Starcheski, still out on assignment. We'll get him back there serving the public in a different capacity right now. But other than that, guys, welcome, ladies, gentlemen, welcome back to the table here. Great to have all of you again. We're going to quickly go around the horn. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you got there, and more importantly, your current role and what's going on in your lives. Let's go. Angie, you're up first.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angie Soria. I've been in education for 15 years. It's flown by. I can't believe it's been 15 years. I got my TRS retirement letter. Barely saw it. I was like, wow, I'm closer than I thought. But yeah, I'm a social studies department chair. I teach accountability. And so I'm excited to be here and share my thoughts and my experiences.
Great stuff. Welcome to the table. Love it. Let's go with Brian next.
Yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Brian Martin. I'm a second grade teacher from Western New York and been teaching a little over 20 years and that the time goes fast. It's crazy. And I'm also the host of the Teaching Champions podcast.
Awesome. Great to have you back, Brian. Nice to see you. Adrienne.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Arrasola. I am in Houston, Texas. I teach at La Promesa High School. I teach ninth grade. This is my 9 and almost half a year. So it's, I work with newcomers, and that is what I do at La Promesa, ninth grade English newcomers.
Awesome. Welcome to the table. Lily.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily Torres. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I've been in education for 10 years. Time goes by really fast because I still remember my first year in education. I've been like a high school Spanish teacher, but right now I'm the Dean of Multilingual Education at Cape Austin College Prep, and it's a middle school.
Awesome. Well, welcome aboard. Happy to have you here. And Craig, rounding out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Shapiro. I have my 36th year in teaching. I'm a health and physics ed teacher out in Pennsylvania. I am an SEL liaison for our school district. I'm one of the strength coaches for our school district. And so I love my job.
Awesome to have you back, Craig. We love the last time you were here as well. Teacher Talk, Josh. Let's get this party started.
Exactly. Hey, so the whole purpose of this show is to make sure that we promote this beautiful profession that we have. Hey, Shika, Fantastic Four, thank you for being here, checking us out tonight, Shika Houston. And it's about promoting what we do. You know, it's such a beautiful job. It has ups and downs, but more ups and downs. But before we get that, talk to the audience right now is, how were you as a student? How were you as a student in middle school, high school? Not only that, but talk about how your parents influenced you even up to today in your current position. So how were you as a student when you were on the other side of the desk? And how did your parents influence you to be the professional that you are right now? Brian.
Yeah, so, I guess I was lucky. I really enjoyed school. I had a good schooling. It was a small community that I grew up in. My mom was a teacher, my grandma was a teacher, so I came up through that lens, and obviously the expectations were high, but I really just embraced it and enjoyed it. And having a parent as a teacher, you saw like every single night my mom would come home, we'd have dinner, and then she's correcting papers or doing lesson plans at the table. So, you know, that shaped me because I knew what I was getting into. It is no surprise, like the hours that you put in that other people don't see.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Craig, talk to us.
So my well, first of all, I was not a very good student in high school. I always joke around with the kids I have now, and they'll always ask me. Well, first of all, even though my last name is Shapiro, the kids will call me Shap, S-H-A-P for short. So they'll be like, Shap, how were you in high school? And I'm like, I was not a good student. I said all I cared about was hanging out with my friends, playing sports, and that's what I did. And my dad was an officer. So he would go to some people's houses who, you know, were absent, truant a lot. And he got me to go into education. I was a business major in high school, in college. And at some point at the end of my freshman year, I was sitting with some friends and I said, I am no way going to do this the rest of my life. I want to be a health and physical education teacher. And all my friends sitting next to me were like, hey, we got to be there when you tell your dad you're going to do that. So it was, initially he was a little not happy, but after a little bit, he was very supportive. So it was a good experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Craig. There's a little bit delay there, so I didn't want to step on your sentence. Hey, welcome to Tim Cavey, Teachers on Fire. Check him out. He's going to have a special guest this Saturday. I don't know. He might be close to this YouTube right now. But, hey, Tim Cavey, thank you for being here. And Fantastic Four, Ross Gaston, thank you for being here tonight on Teacher Talk number 1. Lily, talk to us.
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm born and raised Juarez, Mexico, representing. In Mexico, like I did a little middle school. I finished middle school over there in Mexico, and my parents always like told me like, hey, like we're not gonna leave you anything. The only thing we can leave you is your education. So it was ingrained in me. Then I moved to the States to complete high school. And in high school, I was very shy because I was learning the language. I didn't know any English, but I remember my Algebra 1 teacher, Mr. Avalos, he saw something on me. He always pushed me, and he never like gave me excuse of, hey, like, don't use like language as a barrier, because math, you can like learn it in any language. And he always like checked on me, and he was a person that opened up the AP courses, because at first I was like, how am I gonna be in an AP course and I don't know the language? But then little by little, like it made it like I was smart enough. Like every kid is smart enough. All you have to do is find your like audience, your people. Dad would have like meetings with us as assistant principal, and he like always like pushes to like be better and to not find excuse the problem. But then also like my family, like they always told me that I was gonna go to college. So like that seed like became in me. And then like something happened, like my mom passed away when I was in middle school. So I told myself that I was gonna go to college and do my best just to show my mom that I was gonna be able to be someone in life. And I'm so proud of like everything that I've done. And I know I wouldn't be here where I am without like my parents, my mom's support, and obviously like it takes a village for everyone. So my teachers and assistant principals. So yeah, like I always had the drive, the ganas, and I always found the people that were the best version for myself, that pushed me to be the best person.
Beautiful, beautiful words. Angie Soria.
So growing up actually was I love school, and I forgot to mention I work at the same school that I graduated from. So I just never left the community because it was so special to me. My dad always ingrained in us, education is the one thing that cannot be taken away from you. That's going to give you all the opportunities in the world. And so with my support from my home, and then, I actually work alongside the teacher that inspired me to be a history teacher. So it's crazy how everything goes around in circles, but that's the way I see education. I actually just finished getting my master's also in curriculum and instruction. So that was, so challenging because I just had a baby. But when I see my kids, like, I want to teach my own children, like, education is the cornerstone to success. So I think for me, education's just been the pathway for everything that I love. So it's been great. And I have had great family support with that.
Beautiful. Can't say much more than that. Adrienne.
Alrighty. Well, I was I guess perfect student. I don't want to say perfect because no one's perfect, but I was super involved in school. As you know, Mr. Tovar, I was in his office probably like before anybody else got to school in the mornings, just chatting with my assistant principal. So I just love school. And I think that also comes from the fact that my parents were educators. My mom was a teacher. She was a bilingual elementary school teacher for a long time. Unfortunately, she got sick when I was kind of young. I was like 8 years old. She actually had just started working at Presa Elementary in El Paso. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but it's in the lower valley of El Paso. And she like found a way to teach at the school that I was going to start kindergarten at. So I just grew up in schools, like from very little. From before I even stepped into a kindergarten classroom, I was in schools. And so she was the big influence in what I wanted to do. I would teach my stuffed animals in my room. So that was just, I knew that's what I was going to be. My dad had a lot of jobs growing up, but he eventually became a special ed paraprofessional. And I just was able to see how much he loved working with kids, and especially kids that needed extra help. So it's just kind of something that was engraved in me from the very, very start. And now unfortunately, they're not like on earth anymore, but they're always with me. And I really feel like I ended up where I am, not only from the help of certain mentors, but I also know that I am where I am because of my parents. My mom was an educator. My dad was an immigrant. He moved to El Paso when he was like 12 years old. So he has the same story as a lot of my students that I work with today. So it's just a nice and full circle kind of story with me and my education. And again, I get to be exactly where I need to be and honor my mom as an educator and my dad as an immigrant. And I am so happy to be where I am right now and serving the population that I am right now. So it's pretty awesome.
And I'm sure you're going to give back a tremendous amount. Out of all the professions we have out there, you guys chose becoming a teacher. Think about that for a second. Why? Think about why did you do that? Brian, start us off.
Yeah, you know what? I think my why was I always knew I wanted to help people. Like when I started at college, I went for criminal justice. I grew up with in the Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Steven Seagal kicking doors down and all that. And so I get to college and I do those courses because I thought that's what helping people was. And our police officers do an amazing job. But it wasn't for me once I started taking those courses. And I think just because of my mom being that teacher and just loving kids, that I was playing basketball one day at intramural college, and I was with another young guy, and he was going into elementary ed. He goes, "You should really think about this." And from that moment on, that's it. From one basketball game, that's how it started.
From one free throw and done. I love it. Great stuff right there. Craig, take it away.
So I guess my why is Well, I was in, even though I mentioned I didn't love sports, I was a wrestler, I was a sprinter. So I was really involved in athletics. I loved my health and phys ed teachers. So when I went to college, I was a business major, and I'll never forget, I took a calculus class in the fall and I failed it miserably. And I had to take it again in springtime. And I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. Gold. And I will never forget her ever. I wrote about her in my book, and she was passionate and caring and funny and patient and all the things that the previous teacher I had wasn't. And when I had her, I thought to myself, wow, what an impact she is making on my life and everybody in the class. And I thought to myself, if I could be in the field and teach something, like I am a fitness person, I am a huge advocate of fitness. If I could teach something that I actually do myself and live it every day and give that to students, that would be a transformational experience for me and the kids I teach. And I was lucky. That's just basically what happened. I got into the field, and it's just been an unbelievable experience. I know that there's a lot of chatter about and cynicism about education, but I always say to teachers that I coach and help that education is the most noble field, and it is transformational for so many students. So my why is really having another teacher see the greatness she had, and also just the love of wellness.
Perfect. Well done. Well said. Lily.
So for me, like my high school experience, going back to it, was like such a culture shock, because like I was learning English, and at some point like I thought I'm not gonna be able to graduate, I'm not gonna be able to like follow my dreams. But then like as I got to my senior year, like I noticed like, oh, actually like I can do like anything that I want. So I didn't listen to my counselors, and I went to like my out of reach like college. I went to UT Austin. I'm still in debt, so maybe I should have listened to them. But it was an amazing experience. And I just remember like being in UT Austin and not finding people that looked like me. So like representation. And then it made me think about my friends, because I was like friends with all the like Mexican people that literally like cross the border like every single day. And out of like my 4 friends, I was the only one that graduated from college. And I remember like being in college and being like at UT, like, what's wrong? Like, this is such a beautiful experience that I'm going through. And how come like I'm the only one out of my like best friends that gets to like experience that, gets to go to the library, gets to like party? Yes, but it's more than a party. Like, it's about like learning about yourself. And I became the minority. Like, I was never the minority, because at Isleta High School in El Paso, like brown kids just like me, like we were like 95% or even more. And Adrian, like you were like in Isleta High School as well, so you can connect with me. When I was going through like all the courses and everything, I was like, I want to give back to the community, and I want to push people that look like me to go to college, because it has experienced like the most amazing experience that I've like experienced in my life. So that's my why. Like, I wanted to represent and be there for the students that look like me, because I was very shy, and without the support from everyone else that looked and told me you're gonna be someone in life, you're gonna be successful, I wouldn't be here. So I go to the classroom, I step into the school. Sometimes, yes, it's a hard day after COVID, after everything that has changed. But as soon as I get to connect with one of the students and they remind me how I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I'm like, you're going to be amazing. And they're like, what, miss? I'm like, yes, like you're going to like change the world, and I'm going to be working for you one day. And they're like, you, miss, you're going to be working for me? I'm like, yeah, you better like remember me, because you're gonna be like, you're gonna and that's why I went into education, and I love it.
Excellent. Great stuff right there. Adrian.
Well, I mean, I went into my parents, and I think that's the main reason why, I believe. But it's also, I have to give the shout out to my educators as I was growing up, because if it weren't for my educators, I don't know where I would be right now. I would be really, really lost. And it's because of the influence of my educators that I really have kind of morphed into them, I think, in a way. I have two teachers that stand out, and they're both from Isleta High School. One was Miss Janice. She was my English teacher my first and second year of high school. And then my other one was Miss Whitney. She was my cheerleading sponsor, student council sponsor. And both of those teachers really gave me an outlook of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be as a teacher. Miss Janice always, always, always challenged us to be the best that we could possibly be. She would give some pretty challenging work. She would put deadlines. Her class was like literally like pre-AP, like college level type classes. And I think if I had more of that, I probably wouldn't have struggled as much as I did in college. But she really did give us that basis of academics and like really pushing us to be the best that we could, academic wise. And like I will always remember her telling us to question everything also. So my analytical brain that I have, maybe a little bit of anxiety also comes from that, but it definitely comes from me thinking about everything, and she challenged us to do that. Miss Whitney was the nurturer. She was the one that I would go to if I was crying or if I was just having a bad day. Anything and everything that like I needed as a teenager, and a teenager without a mom, because my mom was sick growing up. Like she was it for me. Like she was everything that I needed at that moment. And there's a saying that I'm sure most of our educators have heard as an educator, is that you want to be the educator that you needed growing up. And that's exactly what I try to do every day. If my kids need like a shoulder to cry on, then I'm going to be that shoulder to cry on. If they need someone to give them some tough love and be like, no, I'm not going to do that for you. Like you're going to do it yourself and we're going to do it together. If, they need a cheerleading sponsor because their cheerleading sponsor just quit on them the day after, like that's how it's going to go down. Like I'm going to be there for our kids because they really need it right now. Especially our kids. Like our kids are immigrant students, and some of them, most of them, if not all of them, are on survival mode. Their parents are working 3, 4, 5 jobs. Sometimes they don't really see them. They're being caregivers for their brothers and sisters. And so, but if you just think about it, they're kids, like they're still kids, and they need someone to be there for them, and they need someone to guide them. And if I can help do that even just a little bit, I'm going to do what I can for them.
I love it. Great stuff right there. Angie.
Yeah, definitely just going with what Adriana and Lilia are saying about, our community. Like I come from an immigrant mother. My dad was a blue collar worker. And even though like my parents emphasize education, I think a lot of it too is like in our community. If you graduate high school, like you've succeeded, like, yay, good job. That's all we needed from you. And so it's like not that it's the bare minimum, right? But for them, that's like the ultimate achievement. Like we've got you to high school graduation. Now the rest of it's on your own. And, but, I did have great educators at Socorro High School that just always pushed me to be better, that believed in me, saw something in me that was, unique, and I guess untapped potential, and helping me see that within myself. I stayed here locally. I say like the Latinos, we have like this lobster like mentality, like the lobsters pull you down. So, when I was able to go out of town to go to college, but it was like, no, stay home because you'll be far from your family and this and that. And so I think that, you know, me trying to break that mold for my students, you know, letting them know, like, not believe in the lobster mentality, like go out and experience it. How Lily said, like, where she saw herself as a minority, you know, don't be that. Go out and push yourself, be more cultured, because all we know is what we see, and what we see is people like ourselves. Or, you know, we lose a lot of talent here in our community in El Paso. Like, we have people, students that are full of potential. They go out of town, they go to UT Austin, they go to Texas Tech, and then they never come back to El Paso. So these great minds, you know, leave and then leave our community. Not saying anything bad about our community, but imagine if, you know, all of those were to come back, what El Paso could be. So I think, like, my why is just making sure that, you know, I'm that inspiration to my students, and also that I help, like, that they help me believe more in myself, that I can push them also. Because I think, like, our why, like, sometimes it kind of gets dimmed down. It's hard being an educator. And so making sure that I'm constantly, like, working with them so I can work on myself, so I can keep pushing. Because even generationally, like, I've been teaching for 15 years. The students I see today are different than 10 years ago. So making sure that I'm always learning from them so I can get better at my craft. I think that's important too.
Beautiful, beautiful, man. This is the purpose of the show, the beauty that is our profession. All right, guys. So real quick, our kids always give us flowers. They're the ones that always keep us going, right? Starting whatever it might be. That day that you weren't ready, that day that you look your rattiest at the mall, they find you and they give you flowers. When you want in sandals and shorts, looking atrocious, they find you. So give the audience one moment, one flower that was brought to you, that blank paycheck that a kid gave you that solidified your thought. One of many, right? But pick one. Don't go like 7 hours into this because you'll make everyone cry. All right. So give one example of a kid that brought you a flower that solidified your thought. That's why I'm an educator. Angie.
Oh my God, I was hoping you would send me, because it just happened to me 3 weeks ago. So I had a student from 2000. She graduated in 2019. So I had her, because I teach junior. So I had her in 2018. And right during COVID, she was in a really bad car accident, really, really bad. And her head hit the pavement. So she had a lot of brain injury. So she forgot a lot of things. She was like in rehab for like a year. So it's crazy. Like, we had just finished this activity, and I have student work in my class that I keep over the years, right? The ones that you're like, you need it. This is the perfect example. We had just finished that activity, and I had used her work as examples. There were 1-pagers. I had them on the board. And so again, I had her in 2018, right? So this is 2023. So she comes to my classroom in between transition, and she's like, "Hi, miss." And I'm like, "Hi, mija." And then she's like, "You don't remember me?" And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden my brain's like flooding with memories, right? I'm like, "Oh my God, hi, how are you?" So I, you know, step out to talk to her, and she's telling me about her accident, and, you know, that she, again, had to relearn how to walk, how to talk, everything. And she was saying that when they were talking to her about school, like, you know, you went to Socorro High School, she thought of me as her teacher. And I'm like, oh my God, like, for me to be part of like her core memories was just, it was so amazing. It makes me want to cry, because I can't believe, I mean, I know like that, you know, we had a great relationship, but to know that like after all of these years and after what happened to her, for her to, you know, think of me, it was so special. And she's saying that she's going to school, and how going to school has helped her with her, like, therapy for her brain injury. So yeah, that's a flower moment for me. It was wonderful.
Adrienne?
There's a lot of them.
One, Adrienne.
I know. But I'll do the most recent. Just on Friday, it was either Thursday or Friday of last week. Our school is new. Like I said, it's in its third year, and we have juniors now. And our juniors, most of them have been with us, right, for the 3 years. And They're all immigrant students. One in particular came to my classroom on, I think it was Thursday, and he brought this little piece of paper. It was a little invitation to be his escort for the National Honor Society like banquet that we're gonna throw. Again, brand new school, so this is our first ever class that's gonna have a National Honor Society ceremony. These are gonna be our kids that that like for the first time probably don't even really understand what National Honor Society really is, but they know it's something special. And he comes in and he gives me this little piece of paper, and he's like, Miss Arzola, I just wanted to give you this. We can invite one teacher to our ceremony, and I want it to be you. And my heart just like exploded. But then I looked at the invitation, and it's to be his escort, like to actually walk him into the ceremony and be there for him as his like person. And it just like made me so happy. Like, I know that I'm sorry, I am a little bit of a crier too, but it just made me like really know that our kids really do, like, as much as we love them, they do love us back. And it's like the best feeling in the world. It's that you're doing something right, and it's just a really good feeling.
Adrienne, what did I tell you?
I'm not crying.
I told you. I told you. Not that long, because I knew what was going to happen. Lily.
I know.
So Spanish high school teacher over here. We love talking about traditions, culture, and we love November because Dia de los Muertos. And every year, like, I do like something for Dia de los Muertos. I remember, like, I think it was like 3 years ago, having like my class ready to go. I told them, hey, like, you're gonna bring anything you would like want to put in the altar, and then we're gonna talk about your loved one, and it's gonna be such a beautiful experience. And obviously, like, I'm not gonna make you like share if you don't feel comfortable. Just bring whatever you want to like give for the altar. So I still remember it was my third period, and they started talking about their loved ones. They presented, and they talked about la abuela, la tia. It was such like an amazing experience because like kids, like, you could see them like struggling, like presenting, because our kids, they need that kind of love of like, it's gonna be okay, no one's gonna laugh at you. It's just like, talk about your loved one, and they're gonna like love you for it. And there were like applausos, like everyone was clapping, everyone was cheering, like even like if they didn't talk like on a daily basis, like everyone was so engaged. And I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. And then at the end I was like, okay, thank you everyone for presenting about your loved ones. And then the kids were like, miss, you're missing, and we see your pictures and we see what you brought. Yeah, but I'm the teacher, like everyone else presented, we can move on to the next activity. And they're like, no, miss, we're not gonna do you like that, you're gonna present. And obviously, like, I don't like talking like about my personal life a lot in front of the kids, because I don't know, like, there's a balance. But I started like talking about it, and I like said, well, and I just started like telling them like how amazing she was. And I started crying, and they were like clapping, and they were like, miss, you got this, you got this. And I just remember like it was such a beautiful experience. And after that, like, I won them over because like they were like, man, like has lived through like a lot of things, and she's gonna be our person. And after that, like, that class, like classroom management became no problem. No, like everything, like I said, everything I did, they were like there for me. They were like my best cheerleaders. And then when they graduated, obviously, like they like, it meant a lot for me. Like, that was the class that like broke me, and they gave me like a lot of light. And anytime that I know that I had a like challenging day and I want to quit, I go back to that moment, and I'm like, that's why I do what I do. And yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Brian.
Yeah, I just want to say the ladies and Craig are bringing it, Josh. It's crazy. So you ladies, so good, so good, making such a. I love hearing your stories of what you guys are doing in your community. So thank you, and yeah, so I'm down there with the young ones, second grade, and a couple weeks after school started, I get a new student. And trying to get a baseline, like where are we at in reading? What skills do we need to do? So it's just me and him one on one, and give him a book, and it's too hard. So I take it down way below grade level, and give him that one, and he just looks up at me and like with a blank face, and he just looks and like eye to eye and says, "I can't." You go, I don't know how to read, and I said, I said, "You are a reader, my man," and every single day we've been grinding at it, and I have a great team, and the ladies that I work with, working with them, pouring into them. And so it's been a couple months, and now um after school he's made some gains, and he'll pick up a book and he rides his bike to school. So I dismiss, and everybody else leaves, and he'll sit there and he'll say, "Mr. Mark, can we read for a little bit?" So we'll sit down, and he'll read to me one or two of those books before he rides off with on his bike. And I said, you are a reader, my man. I always love slapping him on the back and hyping him up, and seeing that little guy's face, and do that. So that's the flower every single day.
Love it. Wow. Craig.
I love it. Yeah. Brian, I'm going to kind of piggyback. I love the stories that everybody's bringing out here. And before I just mention my thing, I'll just say that all of you are passionate. I mean, you have a passionate teacher. You're going to make a lot of difference in the world if you are passionate about your jobs. It's so obvious just listening to your stories how much you care about kids. And so I give you so many kudos for that, because I'm definitely the veteran teacher. I have this is my 35th year or 36th year, and I love my job. I really do. I feel blessed every day. So obviously if 35 years, I have lots of kids, lots of kids, but I am not going to do that because it's just so many. But I will say this. I guess the thing that really has, I don't want to say kept me going, because I do love my job. I will say something that is more about keeping me really motivated to do my best each day, no matter what happens. So every year, this is kind of like a combination of things. Every year, the seniors vote in the yearbook for teachers. And for the 10th straight year, I've gotten most inspiring teacher. Even though I think that's great, and I'm proud of that, this year was definitely something that was different. One of my colleagues, a good friend of mine, she called me up. Well, she sent me an email. She said to me, she said, "Shap, the National Honor Society is going to be having their night, and they really wanted to know if you and some other teachers could come." And it was last minute. So I was like, her name's KB. And I'm like, KB, like, you last minute, you're coming at me at the last minute, but it's amazing senior class, amazing kids. So I'm like, okay, I'll try to get there. So I had a booked meeting. I had a strength meeting. I had these two meetings. So I came back, and I was sitting in the back of the auditorium. I was sitting in front of two of my former students from 24 years ago who just happened to be there, and talking to them. As I'm sitting there, this teacher comes up, and this is where they're doing the new induction for the National Honor Society. So she gets up and she says, I don't know if he's still here yet. I sent him an email, and I'm hoping he's still here. I just want to say that all the students in the National Honor Society voted for Mr. Shapiro to be the honorary member of the National Honor Society this year. And I was sitting in the back, so I didn't know it was coming. And all of the parents, there probably was about 300 parents, they all turned around, stood up, and started to clap. And it was like, it was just like a really proud moment, like it was just something like, I think we all want to feel valued, like we all want to feel valued in our profession. And I don't think it's about the accolades. I really don't believe that. I think if you're looking for that, that's the wrong thing. But with that said, it is so nice to feel like you're making a positive difference in kids' lives. And that moment for me was very nice because it was coming from kids that I don't necessarily teach. It was coming from kids who just know me. So it was just very rewarding, felt good, and positive experience.
Environment in schools is everything, and you start thinking about culture and how culture can impact student learning. Let's talk about that for a second. And if you could describe the ideal culture for learning to take place, and is it in your building right now? Let's talk about that a little bit, and let's start off with Brian.
Yeah, so I think the ideal culture is I always go to a John Gordon quote, and John Gordon. I don't know if everybody's familiar with him. He has a ton of books out, big into positivity. He always said you can tell the culture of a place, whether it's a sports team, a business, a school, by what they tolerate and what they celebrate. So I'm pretty big. Like my ideal school, my ideal culture is we celebrate them. That we celebrate them. We celebrate because you got to celebrate the small goals before you can reach all the big goals. So, and through that celebration, it's pouring into them to step outside that comfort zone, that we push them and we get them comfortable with making mistakes and really being there to help guide them. So I just think, celebrating, providing structure, and making it so they're comfortable with pushing themselves and just building up that confidence for them.
Building capacity right there. Spoken like a veteran. Good stuff. Craig.
I'll keep mine very simple. I mean, there's so many things when you talk about the culture and climate of a school, but I'll just basically say this. I'll put it into 5 letters, and I just call it REACH. R, remember, the E is every, the A is achievement, and the C is create, and the H is hope. Remember, every achievement creates hope.
Very simple. Love it. Angie.
I think definitely going back to when Tovar was with us, it's about like what he always says, kids don't know how much kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that goes with students, that goes with faculty, that goes with staff. That's like everybody within the building. And like exactly like our stories with our why, right? Like we make those connections because we establish that we care about our students, and then what comes out through them is that they care about us as humans as well. So I think like that I carry that with me all the time. In our campus we've gone through a lot of administrators, but the Tovar era, we still call it that, the Tovar era, the Ganas era, it's still that I was putting things away and I have it right here, and Tovar sends birthday cards. And my son's like, oh, you got a present. And I was like, oh, I got a card. And he's like, read it to me. And I, hand to God, this happened today in the morning. And I was like, okay. So I read it. And he goes, oh, that's very nice. That's a very nice man that he said those things about you. And I was like, it is very nice, So even then, making those relationships, the culture is, do you have a caring culture? And do they care about who you are as a person? Because that's what sticks.
Bingo. Spot on. Tovar era. We're going to have to talk about that a little bit, okay? All those cards. Lily.
I'm going to have to piggyback from that because literally I wrote the quote that Tovar always posts on social media. It's always saying, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's an amazing quote. And I just remember in order for me to get the attention or get them to engage with my material, they need to know that I care for them. So building ships every single day. And also when they get in trouble, assuming the best, how are you doing? As an adult, if I get in trouble, or if not get in trouble, but if I do a mistake, I can carry that the whole day with me, and I know it's gonna mess up my day, and I'm gonna react versus responding. And imagine a kid 14, 15, 16-year-old, something happened at the morning, at home, they're carrying that with them. They come to school, they're talking when I'm giving instructions, and me as a selfish human, I want to think oh, they don't like my class. It's something I said something, it's about me. And whenever you go outside and you have the conversation, hey, how are you? And they start like opening up, telling you, oh, like my dad got in an argument with my mom. And you're like, oh my God, we're human beings. Like, poor, like not poor kid, but like let me go through like all the steps to make sure that he or she is okay. That way learning can happen, because if they have the like filter like up, we know like no learning is gonna happen, and their day is gonna get worse. So be 100%, and yeah, keep those ganas.
Great stuff right there. Adrian.
No, I mean, just like the ladies were talking about, Mr. Tovar's quote has kind of been something that stuck with me for a long time, especially because I kind of feel like we've been on both sides of it. I was his student, and now I'm like, I'm still his student. But I just kind of feel like it's more of a peer relationship a little bit, because Mr. Tovar will always be my assistant principal, always. But I just feel like that is just kind of what has guided me too. For me, there's one word also that kind of summarizes all of what we were talking about and all of what we've talked about today, and that's love. We as teachers, like we couldn't do what we do without love, and that's kind of what I try to talk to my students about all the time. At the very beginning of my teaching career, I was a substitute, and I actually long-term subbed for seniors. So a lot of them came up to me and like wanted words of wisdom and all this. And it was funny because I was probably only like 4 years older than them. So I was just like, this is a little weird. But I just told them, like, you need to love who you are, what you do, and where you come from. And those are the 3 things that I told them, like, love where you come from, love who you are, love what you do. And I think that's just what we as teachers need to do. And if you walk into a school or you walk into a place that has kids, and you feel love, that's where you know you need to be. And I'm very, very lucky to have found that place at La Promesa, because all of our teachers, all of our administrators, even our staff, paraprofessionals, anybody that walks into our campus will know and feel loved. And I think that's the most important thing, especially working with young people, is making them feel loved. And that's the culture that I think we need in this world more than anything.
Well said. Take it away, amigo.
All right. We're getting close to that finish line. So I want you to it's your turn to give flowers. Give 2 flowers, give 2 shout outs to an educator that has helped you, inspired you, motivated you, whatever you want to call that love thing. Send out 2 flowers. Angie.
My first flower goes to you, to Mr. Tovar, because again, the Tovar era was great. We still talk about it. Whenever we feel as if the campus culture is not the best, we talk about what we had and we think fondly of it. So that's great. But I also want to give a shout out to one of my current assistant principals. She actually just got named like assistant principal of the year in TASC. So her name's Erica Olivas. But one thing I love about her is she shows humility in the administration side of how, she makes mistakes. She's, I'm sorry. She tells the teachers, I'm barely learning. This is her 3rd year as an assistant principal. And she's willing to make the mistakes and learn from them. And that is what makes a true leader. So I want to give a shout out to both Mr. Tovar for creating that amazing culture. And then, to my current assistant principal that shows that administrators are still humans and still willing to, work with the teachers and love them and lead with heart, not an iron fist. So I think that's great.
Beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate you. Brian.
It throws me off a little bit because I wanted to go with the Tobar, even though I wasn't part of the Tobar era. But I had the blessed thing to have Josh on my podcast, and just hearing like one thing that I've tried to do. You talked about patterns of positivity, whether it was for the letters that you send out or how you have your week structured. And there's different things on every single day that you're doing. So I've tried to take that and do certain things in my classroom every single day to, based off of that. So the Tobar era is floating up to Western New York, brother. And, my wife's in the next room and she's an educator. So I'm going for brownie points on this one. I want to give a big shout out to the wife. She teaches at the same school that I do. She listens to me. She keeps me grounded. She helps me keep perspective, because sometimes I think certain situations can happen in the classroom and you lose perspective. So you need someone to maybe that's zoomed out, that can help you zoom out and look at things through a different lens. So those are my shout outs.
You, Craig, the strongest man in the world. Craig, talk to us. 2 flowers.
Oh boy, Josh. So I'm gonna shout out 2 people. I'm gonna shout out 2 people that I hope you decide to follow if you happen to be on Twitter. And they're two people that are so humble and I guess gracious, and always about spreading some really good positivity. One is a gentleman named Chris Quinn. I don't know if I have Chris's. Let me see if I have it here real quick. I'm sorry. See if I have it here. Let's see. Quinn.
Let's go, Shep.
Okay. Well, Chris Quinn, you can go on Twitter and find him. So Chris Quinn is a retired educator, but he always is spreading hope, inspiration, for so many educators. And if I had to pick one other one, I'm going to pick Barbara Bray. She's also on Twitter. She is a truly amazing author, educator. She's a giver of kindness. So if you don't follow those 2 people, if you happen to be on Twitter, I would 100% follow them. They are great people.
I concur. Got to follow Chris. Don't know about him, but Barbara, mucho amor. Hey, welcome, JT Taylor. I don't know, we really recognize you. JT, thank you for being here today. Adrienne, 2 flowers.
Well, of course, Mr. Tovar, you will always get a flower from me because you have been, you've seriously known me half of my life. That's just amazing. More than half my life. And you've been there for me through a lot. More than anyone, the stuff that I've had to go through. And if I didn't have you, I don't know where I would be. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. But I think another one, just to kind of give, more of the educators in my life, because I gave 2 flowers earlier. Middle school, Mr. Gutierrez, he was my social studies teacher. And he was I think he worked at Isleta too after I had graduated. He moved up to Isleta also. And now he's at Del Valle, which is not okay. But anyway, but he was my social studies teacher. And I think it was the first time I really felt powerful. He did this whole mock trial type situation, and he gave me the position of a lawyer. And I think it was the first time I really felt like I can be in a position of power. And I really like learned a lot from his class, learned how government is completely and fully around you all the time, and you just need to be aware of it. How to be a productive and just the productive member of society, and really try to help where you come from and help the situations that may seem to be harder than others, and he really just kind of put me in a place where I knew that I could be someone. Not that I didn't feel it before, but I just was literally in those shoes, playing this lawyer and, bringing up this, I don't know, feeling of power in me. And I stood straighter. My brother bought me a blazer so I can wear to school. Like, and I felt it. Like, I felt like I was going to be someone. Or not that I could be someone, but that I was someone at that moment. And I think that's another thing that I just want to come and bring to my students as well, is just give them power to advocate for themselves, power to ask for help, and the power to feel like they are going to make a difference in this world. So to you, Mr. Tovar, and to Mr. Gutierrez, who was my social studies teacher in middle school.
Muchas gracias. Lily.
Are you, Tovar, as a student? Like, I did again. I was very shy.
Stacked for Tovar tonight.
I was.
I apologize. I'm just smiling.
You're good. I just remember like Tovar like would always call us like to his office, and I'm like, oh my god, ahora que quiere, like what does he want now? And like getting those like cards, like the birthday cards, the shirts, like you made it to top 10%, and I was like, what is that? Like I was so like, I didn't know anything about school. Like, here's your name. Like just having those moments of like, oh my god, like he knows my name, how much like I do like well in school. And now as an educator, and parts that you sent over, like when do you sleep, when do you eat, when do you spend time with your family? Is yes, like 24 hours. And know that you're an inspiration, so thank you for everything that you do. And from a previous like all the cards that you give to your students, even like sometimes like the shy ones, we think like no one is looking at us, and you're always looking at it to you. And my second shout out has to go Mr. Avalos, my Algebra 1 teacher. He like opened up courses every time that I wanted to quit one AP course because I wanted to use the I don't know English card. He's like, English, you're gonna try, you're gonna do amazing. And Mr. Avalos, Joe Ruben, everyone is a teacher over there. Isleta, he's in Socorro now. For the district, I don't know what middle school he's working at, but he was like pushing me to be the best version of myself. He was like so he was like coming down the stairs. He gave me a hug, and he's like, I know you're gonna do amazing things. I know you're gonna become an educator. So maybe he planted that seed, but I don't know. And he told me, I'm gonna be in your college graduation in 4 years at UT. And I was like, this man is gonna forget. Like obviously he's not gonna go to my UT graduation. So time moved. Like we passed. I went through college, graduated, and like before my graduation he reached out and he's like, so once your graduation I'm gonna be there. He took the wife, his mom. He made it to my graduation. He got invited to like my family celebration, and I was like, and I feel like so good about him like being there because he was always like the person that motivated me. And ever since like I came to the US, like I have the imposter syndrome. And anytime that I feel that I don't belong there, like I remind myself that I'm supposed to be there. And now, like as an admin, like it's such an important thing for like representation matters. And my shout out goes to great leaders that I had like the pleasure to be a student and now like their mentors. So Tovar and Mr. Avalos.
Awesome. The stories have been outstanding. I mean, you talk about foundational reasons for being in education and connectivity with kids and impact on student learning. You guys all have stories that just kind of make your heart pound and bring tears to your eyes at times. So thank you so much for sharing. How can the people out there actually connect with you? And let's start off. Lily, you go first.
Yes, so Torres Liliana 89 at Twitter or X, and yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Adrienne.
So on Twitter, it's my first name, Adrienne08. Oh, that's right, it's X now. It's Adrienne08 Marie. The 08 is still stuck to my name because we were the best class ever and we had the best principal ever. So
good stuff right there, Angie.
My X account, it's a history department, DEPT_SHS.
Nice. Brian.
Yeah, on X it's at B Martin Real, and if you're not watching Unlock the Middle, check out the Teaching Champions podcast.
Right there, Craig.
On X, it's at Shapiro_WTHS, and also my website is cmsdreambig.com.
Right there, rounding it up, Mr. Tovar.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. These were the stories that need to go out, not that stuff that's floating out there that brings out our profession on the country, that picks up tears, love, flowers everywhere. Thank you, everyone, for being here. But it's not over. Dean Packard, it's not over. This Sunday, the flagship show, 7 p.m. Eastern. Dr. Garcia, my backpack is heavier than yours. What does he mean by that? Well, you got to tune in and find out. And Monday, the next day, Monday, office hours, a 20-minute problem-solving show, ready to rock and roll. What would you do? Let's go, Dean Packard.
Hey, guys, everybody, thank you so much. Angie, Adrienne, Lily, Brian, Craig, thanks for joining us tonight. Like I said before, your stories are amazing. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for being, I call you guys ripple makers, man, because that is what you do. You create those positive ripples that just drive people forward. So congratulations on being you. Keep being you and keep building your own personal capacity to be a better version of you, and great things will happen. That'll catch on with a lot of people. Hey, that's all we have, guys. Please reshare this out there. This is a great show tonight, and thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoy your time with family and friends. Be well, everybody.